They say Japan was made by a sword. They say the old gods dipped a coral blade into the ocean, and when they pulled it out, four perfect drops fell back into the sea, and those drops became the islands of Japan. I say Japan was made by a handful of brave men, warriors willing to give their lives for what seems to have become a forgotten word: honor.
Okay, well, it could be a lot of things. Be a lot of samurai movies. I'm gonna take an educated guess that this one is about seven samurai in particular.
Mm,
Is it about 13 assassins?
no, I don't think so. I don't think they talk about Scientology either, but
Um, hmm.
oh, I thought that was going to be a big hint.
You said they don't talk about Scientology? So that made me think that it's
No, no, no,
not
no.
that
Well, I mean,
movie.
he might, but I'm not sure
Okay,
if he
so it's
does
The
on set.
Last Samurai.
Yeah, there you go, there you go.
Yeah, but when you
I,
say it's
I,
not
I,
a when you said it's not this, I was like, oh, well, okay, it's not The Last Samurai. My next
oh,
guess
well,
was going to
I
be
was kind of more or less
47.
teasing about the subject. Okay.
You and I have unfinished business.
Oh? And what's so stinking about it?
Non mi piace il feeling, spirit is something. I think this just might be my masterpiece.
Yep, Last Samurai with Tommy Cruise. Welcome to the Average Joe's Movie Clubcast. It's Justin.
And I'm Joey.
In a podcast, you start with an introduction and talk about the movies you'll be covering. And in this podcast, they're going to be talking about Christopher Nolan's Prestige. It came out in like 2006. And if you need a perfect Thanksgiving movie, you got to check out one of Justin's all-time favorites, Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. Yeah, I know that was a weird Michael Caine impression, but what are you going to do? What are you going to do?
Um, a lot of push-ups so I can get a bloody log off of me while my mansion burns down. Um, maybe a
Okay.
manor would be a better word.
Like Batman kind of deal?
Yes, that was from Batman Begins. What good are all those push-ups if you can't even lift a bloody log?
Oh, totally over my head.
Yep. Well, just as a heads up, we do discuss our full thoughts on films. So if you've not seen a movie, just skip forward to avoid any spoilers. I'm going to say that with one of these movies being 30 plus years old and the other one being almost 20 years old, that if you get spoilerized, that's on you.
And we'd love you to be a part of the community. Give us an email. That's averagejoesmovieclubcast@gmail.com, or leave a comment on a YouTube video. We'd love to hear from you. All right, so what have we been watching lately? I didn't really have categories since I think I've only watched a handful of movies, turning into you.
Okay, so we're just going to talk about what we watch. We're not.
I
when
can make up
Clint
category.
Eastwood.
How about you tell me what the fourth wall is while I come up with a category.
I mean, I'm
I'll
sure
do
you.
mine reverse.
I guess we can come up with. I mean, I'm sure we know what the fourth wall is. It stars your favorite Marvel character and the Mark with the mouth. So it's Deadpool. I know it's Deadpool and Wolverine, but it's Deadpool versus Wolverine. Those were like the best parts of the movie when they were just fucking each other up the whole time. A lot of really cool cameos throughout. Um, really liked X-23 showing up. I know that you don't give a shit, but your opinion on this doesn't matter, so it's fine.
Ouch. I really like that movie.
You did like that movie, but you
I like the
don't
movie you're
like
talking about, not
Yeah,
the
but you don't like
overrated thing.
X-23. You don't like Logan, so yeah, I don't. Channing Tatum was hilarious, of course. I do think that they went a little too heavy on the fourth wall. Like I get that's his whole shtick, but I think they just heavy-handed it just a little too much. But it was still a lot of fun, worth checking out. Obviously not family friendly because it's fucking Deadpool.
When one of the big bads talks about flicking her bean, you know you're in a special kind of movie.
Oh yeah, they're just flicking their bean and um yeah, but yeah, lots of cameos. I really liked seeing. I like forgotten that Wesley Snipes was in it and like Jen Garner was in it, so that was really cool to see them. Even if it was just for a few minutes, but
All right, so I'm going to do. What do you think my surprise I had a great time would be?
Venom: The Last Dance.
Absolutely. Yeah, so I've always enjoyed these Venom movies, much to Joey's chagrin sometimes.
Well, the first one
But
was good. The second one was the opposite of good.
I didn't think I thought it was fine. I mean, it was a little
You're
it
like
was a
the
little
only
abbreviated.
person. You're like the only person.
Well, that's okay. I'm the only person that doesn't like Logan, so there you go.
That
No,
explains so much.
I enjoyed a lot Venom: Last Dance quite a bit. It's not doesn't seem to be tying into any future Spider-Man movies, unfortunately. But what you gonna do? We get a
So,
big Venom horse. Yeah.
does Tom Hardy try to play Michael Jordan basketball in this movie?
If that happened, I don't recall it.
Never mind. You didn't. It's The Last Dance, the whole documentary about the Bulls.
Okay. Yeah, I was a little weak. Sorry about that.
Oh, probably like this movie is.
No, this movie's a lot of fun. I mean, it's kind of has a stupid villain because it's just this random guy out in space that's sending like monsters to go get Venom and bring him back. So they kind of make up what's going on. But I mean, I just enjoy spending a lot of time with Tom Hardy and Venom. I think it's a very fun dynamic with those two, and I
Yes,
didn't
it
need that
was.
movie, but I enjoyed it anyways.
Yeah, it was very the dynamic between the symbiote and Tom Hardy was very good in the first one. The second one, despite having Woody fucking Harrelson in it, was somehow worse. And I think part of it is like a lot of their characters are probably like tied up into Spider-Man, which I understand that Sony has, but now that Sony has a deal with Marvel, and I'm sure there's some rights hell or something that's making maybe that tricky or something. So I do want to see this. Like I know I'm giving you shit, but I do want to see the third one, despite how much I disliked the second one.
All right, Mate.
Mate, yes,
Okay.
Mate. Um, so this is all about Frank Dukes, played by Jean-Claude Van Damme in Bloodsport.
Oh,
Um, so you know,
that's a good movie.
yeah, Jean-Claude's he's a dude. He's in the military. He has learned this fighting style from a Japanese master, and he's going to this highly illegal underground fight in Hong Kong. It's highly
Oh, you mean
underground. It's
Enter the Dragon? Sorry, no, wrong movie.
no, not Enter the Dragon.
You're talking
Um,
about Mortal Kombat. Not wrong movie.
oh well, this was before Mortal Kombat, and seeing
True.
as Mortal Kombat was originally supposed to be about Jean-Claude Van Damme fighting things, and then they couldn't afford him, and so they just turned that template into Johnny Cage. So yeah, you can go fuck yourself. Um, um, I was trying to say that it's supposed to be this highly secretive. The Kumite is supposed to be this highly secretive underground fighting tournament, but they roll it to the hotel like, "Hey, we here for the Kumite," and then the dude showed up. He's like, "Hey, all you fighters are here for the Kumite." So it wasn't really that secret at all, but lots of cool fight scenes. Bolo Young is a great villain. He doesn't even say very much, but um, he fucks people up. He does the peck jiggle a lot, while Jean Claude does a lot of splits. And then he heals it up like a wrestling villain with the powder in the eyes at the end, and still loses. And Jean Claude gets the girl. He already got the girl, but he got the girl because he's the muscles from Brussels. And yeah, it's just I mean, if you're looking for something to make you think, this is not the movie. If you want to see people fight and like a cool late '80s action movie, this is the jam.
Your favorite way to defend? Turn off your brain and enjoy.
Pretty much.
Nah, I think that one stands on its own without having to turn off. It's pretty badass.
Yeah, I mean, that is like Jean-Claude in the height of his powers of the late '80s. So yeah, for sure.
All right, so which movie did I finally grow a heart for?
I'm gonna guess Wall-E.
Wall-E. Yeah, so I've been a little down on Wall-E. I got a lot of flack on Letterboxd about it. So my beef with Wall-E is, I don't know, I just found it really preachy the last time I watched it. I mean, I guess I kind of came about it with like thinking, like, yes, it's a science fiction post-apocalyptic movie. You should kind of look at it like that instead of like a PSA, I guess. So yeah, it is supposed to be entertainment. I don't know. It just has such a cynical view on like humanity, the environment, and stuff. And I don't know. Maybe it's not cynical at all, and we're really heading in that direction. So God forbid. But yeah, the whole dynamic between Wally and Eva, I just thought was okay. I thought it was a little too slapsticky last time I saw it, but man, it's a real charming show. Like the dynamic between those two robots that can barely talk, but they bring so much character out of them anyways. And the director loves old-fashioned music, so that definitely gives its own kind of style. And it's funny, I played Fallout 3 around the time that movie came out, and it's the same kind of deal where it's like a wasteland and like old-timey music on the radio. And yeah, Wall-E definitely has some more charm to it. Keep it at a 3.5. Not one of my favorites, but it's I'm definitely not as down on it as I used to be.
That's actually one that I need to see.
Never saw Wall-E. The only
never seen
Disney in the collection.
Yeah, it is, which is why I'm surprised you haven't said it's a masterpiece now. But I guess that's why you like it now. I'm sorry. You brought it up. I was going to let it go. I was going to let it go that it was in the collection. But, yeah, I do need to see
Collection movies are pretentious. Oh, Logan's good. Oh, okay, I get it.
Not all the movies are pretentious. Just, you have a fondness for movies in the collection.
Okay. Still amazing. What guilty pleasure did you get into this time?
Well, it's not a guilty pleasure. It's a movie I hadn't seen in a while.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a pretty appropriate movie for what we're about to talk about.
Mm-hmm.
This is Inception.
Oh, okay.
Bro. Right, like, bro.
You're a fan, huh?
Yeah, this is, like I said in my review, this might be his masterpiece. I don't know, but goddamn. This
Oppenheimer's pretty good.
This is better than Oppenheimer, in my opinion. And that being said, Chris Nolan has a lot of really good movies, so that's why might be. I mean, I probably need to rewatch Oppenheimer and come back to it at some point, but like it's definitely one of his upper tier movies for sure. And I haven't seen everything, and I need to fix that, but it's just you've got a great director, you've got all of these just freaking ridiculous cast, just like A-lister after A-lister, and it just weaves the story, and then you get the ending, and it's so ambiguous as to what it is, and it's so open-ended for conversation, and it was just a lot of fun. A lot of fun to watch again, and it'd been a hot minute since I seen it, so I was very, very glad that I watched it.
Okay. And I think since I hated Tenet so much, like getting a total turnaround with Oppenheimer was like really. I definitely thought it was his most mature film. I guess maybe that's the reason I like it so much. All right.
I mean, I guess like that one, like it's a little more straightforward, I guess. Being
like Inception,
Oppenheimer.
like I can poke holes in Inception. I mean, I love the concept and it's really cool, like executed. But I'd have to watch it again to tell you exactly what I'm talking about. There's just some sequences that don't exactly line up.
Well, yeah, when you're doing, well, we're in a dream, and then in that dream we're in someone else's dream, and then in that dream we're inside of someone else's dreams.
Oh yeah, all that stuff's great.
Yeah, I
Love
mean,
all
no,
that
but yeah,
stuff.
you are suspending disbelief real hard, like you kind of have to, or else it just doesn't work. So,
Okay.
all right, well,
All right.
tell
So
me
have you
all
ever heard of
about
American Movie?
it sounds very, very vaguely familiar. Like maybe
Oh
I've
my
heard
God.
of it in passing.
So I'm not sure if you've heard, like, have you ever watched any of these like documentaries just about these kind of like miserable people that just kind of go on doing their thing?
I can't say that I have.
All right. So like Grey Gardens from the collection's kind of one of them, but so this is about this guy. I can't remember his name. He's from Milwaukee. He's kind of a loser. Like you get into this thing, and he's talking about he's been working with his friends to make this short film. And he's going on, and he's talking, and he kind of has a sense of what he's talking about. He kind of has a vision for what he wants to put together, and you kind of feel for the guy. And then he's like, oh, I don't have enough money for this, so I'll go to this other short project. And then we spend some time with him at home, and we see, he's working all these jobs, and then eventually we kind of see he's kind of a creep because he has like 3 kids with this estranged woman, and he's kind of using this uncle of his. So he's kind of a scumbag, but at the same time, you kind of admire his passion. American Movie. It's a redneck Milwaukee filmmaking packed into a movie. It'll make you think. American Movie. I thought it kind of dragged in the middle, but it definitely had. A lot of people say it's hilarious. I'm not. Whenever I see miserable people, I don't generally crack up too much. But it was definitely an interesting thing to watch. I heard it recommended many times over the years, so finally cracked into it.
Interesting.
Word. All right. Feature movie 1, which was we were going to do mine, but I did yours first because that's what I had ready to write about. Yep. So The Prestige. Do you want to look up some fun facts that you might want to spit out, or just want to move past that part?
I did not
You
even
can.
think about doing that. So let's see what the old internet tells me.
Okay. And I get those off of IMDb trivia if you need some direction. The Prestige is our first movie. This is Joey's picks. It is a 2006 psychological thriller film from director Christopher Nolan, based on the 1995 novel by Christopher Priest. It stars Hugh Jackman as Robert Enger and Christian Bale as Alfred Borden, rival stage magicians in Victorian London who feud over a perfect teleportation illusion?
Also, it's also where I usually get my facts from. Um, so the word prestige originally meant trick, and it's from Latin
Okay.
for a word that means I can't even begin to enunciate that. Praestigium, and it means illusion. Nikola Tesla really did have electrical experiments in a lab in Colorado Springs, so that was
Oh,
true.
okay.
There are 146 time jump cuts in which the next shot either flashes back or skips ahead to another time period of the storyline. This
Yep.
averages to almost one timeline jump per minute. Um,
That's Chris Nolan for you.
yes. Hmm.
Sadly, one of those movies that how many times have you seen it?
The Prestige.
Mm-hmm.
This might be the third time, and probably the first time in probably more than 10 years.
My dad got his like a new release Blu-ray when it first came out in like '06, '07, and I remember watching it and enjoying it, and I haven't even thought about it ever since. But it's crazy how like the clues in the movie are still like very apparent even on like rewatches. Did you find that at all?
I'm sorry, did I find what the clues?
The clues, yeah, the foreshadowing throughout of like,
Oh,
what's coming.
yes, that is a thing that I noticed. Like, so I obviously like it's been a long time since I've watched it. I remembered the big, I guess the big double reveal, but even though one of them is it was
Ridiculously obvious.
so blatantly obvious. I mean, I don't even think that's really a reveal. They just fucking tell you. But the reveal of the twin, I remembered that, and that just made so many other things throughout the movie where it was like, Jesus, they just fucking tell you. But when you don't know that they're telling you, it's a
Yeah,
lot
it
different.
makes it a little more clever, a little smarter.
Yeah.
For sure. Definitely a movie that once you've seen it once, it's kind of, yeah. You've definitely seen the magic trick, which I guess kind of plays into the movie itself. Love Michael Caine's opening VO there as he explains the steps of a magic trick, as I tried to intro our show with, to probably miserable failure.
That's also the outro. So it's just kind of cool.
True.
Yep.
Yeah, because, yeah, we'll get there. Classic start with a story where it's it's I guess we kind of pop in at like the beginning of the third act, so not quite the end, but yeah, kind of see the conflict and then jump back to see what led up to that. Lots of jumping around, like you had mentioned.
I mean, yeah, this whole movie is a lot of back and forth, and it's a lot of subterfuge to keep you. It the movie is built it's like a magic trick, and it's a lot of look over here, look over here, look over here before everything comes together and you see the whole picture.
Yeah, I think that was one of my beefs with Inception is sometimes whenever like no I find that Nolan will like try to distract you with something that kind of seems time wasty off on one side to kind of distract you from what he has going on in another area, and so sometimes he does that to greater or lesser extent. But in this time he took us up to Tesla's house in Colorado Springs, like you would imagine. It's all foggy and mysterious, and we get these strange top hats and electrical experiment, and very cool to have David Bowie's in it. See much David Bowie? You a fan?
I mean, I'm not really a huge David Bowie fan. I don't. It's not like I dislike him. It's just never anything that I grew up listening to or anything like that. But Carl is like a huge Bowie fan. So
Okay.
yeah.
Flashback to when their rivalry began, and they were both assistants. Bale always showing that he wanted, innovative new magic tricks. Where I guess Jackman's more of kind of a follower character. They set up the importance of the water tank, which is critical, because no, I mean that was his wife's fate. So tell me about your interpretation of Jackman's wife dying in the tank.
What do you mean my interpretation? I mean, it's
Well, I
just
mean, it's a little ambiguous about whether Bale really messed it up or not, right?
I don't know if it's ambiguous because like Michael Caine straight up tells him, "Don't do this. You don't tie the normal knot. Don't tie this fancy knot."
Oh,
And then
okay.
he tells him not to do it because the ropes would swell and you wouldn't be able to get out of it. So just tie a normal slip knot. And then they get on stage and he goes to tie it, undoes it, looks at Piper Perabo, which is Hugh Jackman's wife, and she kind of gives him the nod to do it. So he ties the different knot, and then she can't get out. I don't think there's really anything that ambiguous to it. I think the thing that is ambiguous that comes to that is in the diary. He says he doesn't know which knot he tied, and then that leads to, well, was it Alfred or was it the twin?
Oh, okay.
To
Maybe
me,
I guess that may be where that confuses me a little bit, because I'd forgotten that exchange between him and Michael Caine, that little detail. But yeah, that's pretty telling. So glad you pointed that out. Big time foreshadowing comes in with the bird magic as the kid gets all upset and realizes the one bird died and there's another bird. So that's pretty much directly setting up what's coming up. But we don't know that yet.
yeah, and it's not even just time foreshadowing. It just straight up tells you there's a brother. Like they tell like we said, when you
Where's
know
his
the clues,
brother?
yeah, it just fucking tells you. In the next scene, there's like 37 birds, and they spend so much time where Hugh Jackman's like, well, he has to be used, or Michael Caine's like, he's using a double, and Hugh Jackman's like, no, it's too good for that. It can't be a double. It can't be a double.
Yeah, he's pretty stubborn.
Y'all be
All
mad.
right,
That's
get to
what
hear
played for you.
about Kane start to talk about the murder in the box and how he kind of relates it to magicians' kind of tactics. Jackman's wife dies, or the assistant dies. Yeah, when Bale ties the overcomplicated knot, like you were talking about. Really like, I guess they're in London, so they had the above ground grave, which was a really cool scene because like they're in the hallway and it's all surrounded by white, and Jackman's yelling at him because he's so
What
upset
knot
that
did you
about the
tie?
knot.
What knot did you tie?
Bale takes a risky magic bullet catch trick, and Jackman takes this chance to get back at him by messing up the trick and blowing off part of his hand, which is going to make it awfully hard to do tricks coming up. But he masters that, which makes him, I guess, all the more better.
I mean, I guess to be fair, he was gonna kill him, and then was it someone else grabbed him, so he and forced the shot to go and hit him in the hand instead of killing him. But yeah, and so he loses two fingers. Boy.
From there, Jackman works with Michael Caine again. They invent this really neat pigeon trap thing that actually doesn't kill the pigeon. Hooray! But unfortunately, Bale goes in and messes up the trap and gets a lady hurt, and their show canceled. So these guys just really can't stop poking each other, can they?
No, they can't. So what? Like, obviously, you understand not Christian Bale, Hugh Jackman being upset his wife has died, and wanting revenge because while he doesn't know, he's pretty confident that Christian Bale tied the crazy knot because his wife would have been able to get out of a regular knot, like she was a pro. So he goes for his revenge, and then we get this whole rivalry, and this is what the movie is. This is I don't want to say that magic is a backdrop because obviously magic is very front and center, but
Like the
it's revenge.
relationships.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
is a revenge movie. It is Hugh Jackman trying to get revenge on Christian Bale, and then Christian Bale trying to get revenge on Hugh Jackman, and then this just rivalry between these two former friends over and over and over.
Yeah, a little repetitive in that. Go back to cutting back to Tesla, so we get a little distraction, and we start hearing more about Bale's coded book. So that was kind of a little another distraction in the movie is the going on and on about the book and not knowing what it means. Electric dirt and not really sure how that works, but all those scenes look really cool.
I don't think the
Wide
dirt's
shots of
electric.
fog.
I think it. I took it to be wireless, but I guess if you go to the scene where they hold the light bulbs and then they make the electricity, it's that the humans are moving the current. So I guess the dirt is the current. But I was thinking it was some sort of like wireless, like Wi-Fi, but for lights for electricity.
Huh. I have no idea.
But I mean, I guess it's another
There's
one
a
of
whole
those things
magical
where
element to it too, so who knows?
yeah.
Could be some reality there. David Bowie as Tesla. It's always cool to see him in movies. He always kind of plays strange roles, and Andy Serkis was definitely not hiding the fact that he was Gollum with his big lip piece poking out throughout his performance. Okay.
Ah, yes, the Tolkien white guy.
Teleporting trick rivalry begins. Jackman refuses to believe that Bale is just using a double, and this obsession leads to his downfall. Pretty obvious that Bale has a brother who has the beard and stuff on. At least
Well,
at least the reveal is pretty captivating with how they show them side by side and how they look identical and the dynamic about how like one was in love with the wife and one was in love with ScarJo. So those aspects of it are good, but him being hidden, not so much.
so I think they did a very good job of hiding him. I think
Oh,
still once you know, so they don't show his face a ton, but when they do, because of the glasses and the way the beard is, and they make him look a little bulbousy, he doesn't look like Christian Bale. And they also show Christian Bale in disguise as his main. They show him in like a beard, like a different beard and stuff when he's the magician on stage. But they also show him in disguises in the crowds and stuff throughout the movie. So you see, and he looks like him, but in a disguise. So you see this other person. He's got the hat and the glasses and he's got the Motorhead beard going on. So like to me, he doesn't look like him. I think they did a very good job. I
I
think
thought you
once
had said that earlier, so I guess I misheard you.
yeah, no, they I think it's still very obvious. There are other clues that tell you there's a brother. Again, back to the birds and um oh man, there's some other things. I think they're a little bit closer to the end, but they do some things that just kind of tell you. And then again, me and you know this, so it's even more obvious once you know. It's kind of hard. Like if we were doing this having never watched this before, I think the conversation might be a little different.
Sure, absolutely. Um, see, Bale manipulates. Oh yeah, the double. Okay. So, ScarJo goes to Bale and kind of figures out what's going on with him, and then they unveil the teleporting man technique. We get Hugh Jackman's double, who's himself, which is the funky teeth. So he's quite of a pretty
Well,
entertaining to see the
Scar
drunk version of Jackman.
ScarJo doesn't go quite yet. You get they find the drunken stuff
Right, I
first.
had skipped that line.
Yeah,
Got
and
ahead
then
of
he and
myself.
then he sends ScarJo to
Uh-huh.
Bale under the guise of like, hey, you're gonna give him our trick, give him the secret, da 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 da. She gets kind of pissed that this guy that she's in a relationship with that she loves is just gonna throw her away for this rivalry when their trick is already like because the great Danton is a he's a better magician, a better showman than the professor, who is a better magician. So she's not very happy, and but she goes. She's the one that finds the book, and gives it to him that we were talking about a little while ago.
Yep. Bale manipulates the double. He and lets him know, like, yeah, you can really kind of call the shots here, since he depends on you for this to work. And then they make a fool of him by moving his pad and stringing the drunk guy up in front of everybody to reveal his newest trick. So the rivalry revenge continues. I think one of the low-key best parts of the movie is when he's just like, when he didn't he bury his brother alive at one point, and in order to force him into giving him the secret.
Yes, yes. So he finds the assistant. Hugh Jackman finds Bale's. He gets Bale's assistant to follow him, and then they have like a weak step, and he falls through, and they throw him in a coffin. They put the coffin in the dirt, and that's how they use him to get the cipher to break the book. And then as he reads,
I think at that point he just says that go see Tesla or whatever.
Well, he says that the code is Tesla, and then he goes and sees Tesla, and this is where he's reading the book. He's on the train and he's in Colorado Springs, and as he reads more of the book, you find out that ScarJo betrayed him. She's the one who gave up the double, and she fell in love with Christian Bale. Mm-hmm. The main character, Alfred, she falls in love with him because, like you said, one of them was in love with the wife, which is Rebecca Hall, and the other one was in love with Scarlett Johansson. Yeah. I like you seem to not be a big fan of the book. I like there being a journal, and then I liked that it was reversed the other way, and Hugh Jackman wrote one for Christian Bale when Christian Bale was in jail, and ended with, basically detailing the story from his point of view to Hugh Jackman, from Hugh Jackman's point to Christian Bale, excuse me. And then, you get to the end, Christian Bale gets to the end, and he's like, and here you are awaiting trial for ma murder. And it's like, oh ho ho, he's alive. But we knew that because of the machine that he gets from Tesla.
I think it's a little bizarre that it's Jackman that figures out that there's a bunch of hats and cats in the yard, but and I guess it might be a big yard.
I mean, yeah, I guess where it was teleporting to, there was a bunch of hats, but then there was the cats, and I guess like how Andy Serkis, he walks the grounds a bunch, he wouldn't have noticed all of those hats, but yeah, I mean, that just tells you, what's happening. That he's cloning himself for this trick.
Oh, that's what I meant by magic. Tragic is the fact that what Rebecca Hall, she hangs herself because her husband tells her he doesn't love her whenever he does, but it's not the right one. So
yeah, it's the I love you. Oh, you mean it today, or you don't mean it today, but it makes it so much worse when you do, or it makes it so much worse when you don't. And that is so this kind of reminded me of, I know you're not a huge wrestling guy, but back in the 40s, 50s, 60s and before, those guys lived their gimmicks, even into the 80s. Like $1 Million Man, was given extra money so he could ride around in a limo in suits and look like he was living the $1 Million life. Like, they lived their gimmicks. Heels didn't hang out with faces in public, etc. The fact that both of these brothers are sharing one life that the wife doesn't even know, and that the girlfriend is sure there's a double, she also doesn't know that it's ridiculous. And when you get that reveal, and you see where they cut, he had to cut his fingers and shit off too, that is hardcore and dedication to your craft. That is a little bit ridiculous.
The Chinese magician being able to carry the bowl of water early on, kind of already making us think about how the much dedication goes into pulling off a lifestyle trick like that. So
Oh yeah, that's true. Because he has to when he's not like even when he's in public, he has to walk with his legs out to be able to hide the bowl. Yeah.
I thought it was a little strange that they said like Edison's men are looking for Tesla, so now he has to flee the area and he leaves the mysterious box for Jackman to set up.
Well, I mean, that's not that weird. Edison just tried to kill Tesla and anybody who opposed him. He was,
Really?
yeah, no, dude, Edison was not a good person. I know, like in school, we're taught, oh, he created this. No, he did not create hardly anything. He is like Elon Musk, where Musk, takes credit for other people's shit. That's Thomas Edison, except for he would kill people. He didn't give a fuck. So.
Not knowing the
He was a
trick.
bastard.
Okay, so you had talked about earlier how, yeah, there's like this 10-second teleportation trick that they now have going on. Drives Bale nuts. How does he do it? So he has to go and find out, and that's his ultimate downfall because it's a trap that Jackman had set for him.
Yeah, yeah. So, Hugh Jackman, not knowing how Bale did it, drove him to go to great lengths, and he finds the cloning machine. Hugh Jackman or Christian Bale, you even see him. He is talking to someone off screen you can't see, and he's like, "We're done. We're not going to mess with him anymore. We're not going to do this. We're not going to do that. Um, we're just going to leave him alone." And then the next thing you see him. He goes up on stage as part of the show, looks at it, gets his way backstage, and then instead of the Hugh Jackman goes through the trap door, and instead of there being a pad there, it's a water tank, and instead of it having a trick lock, it had a real lock, and you see Bale try to bust it out, but he can't. He gets sent to jail for the death of Hugh Jackman's character, and then Hugh Jackman, even though he's dead, but he's not because it was a clone.
Yep.
Shows up with Bale's daughter, and now he's a rich. He's just basically he's a
Did you
count
think
or
the daughter
something.
worked as a good like chip of like making him more likable? I don't know. I thought it seemed a little forced.
Making Christian Bale more likable?
Yeah.
No, not really. Like I think that both the characters kind of sucked. Like because Christian Bale lies to his wife and his daughter the whole movie, and then obviously if he's half the he's lying to his wife. She doesn't know that she's sleeping with his brother. Him and then his brother are sharing a girlfriend. Like it's just that's wild. Hugh Jackman is so obsessed with with Bale's downfall and finding out what happened to his wife, and he does some really shady shit. Killing these clones, and then you know you get and then he tricks Michael Caine. He says he tried to kick Caine out of, having to lie about finding his body and everything. And then you get, so yeah, no, I don't think either one of them were particularly likable. But I will say there was a thing, and these kind of small details, these couple things I didn't remember because, like I said, it had been so long. So they box up the machine. This is after,
The
the
trial.
professor. Yeah, this is after the trial. The professor is hung. Um, Hugh Jackman and Michael Caine. He's like, "Hey, we're gonna take this device, and we're never gonna use it again." That sounds like Batman. That sounds really familiar. And we're gonna put it in the theater. And Michael Caine leaves the theater, and you see a guy walk by, and you see Michael Caine's character kind of give him a nod, and that guy turns out to be the twin brother who just walks in and shoots Hugh Jackman, and then they have their back and forth, and Hugh Jackman, and this is the reveal where you find out there's a brother and that he had to cut his fingers off, and they lived the same life, and living one life between the two of them was enough, and that they were both the assistant and both did the tricks and both sometimes went in to the teleporting man and sometimes both came out. But there was an interesting thing where he said something about he told Hugh Jackman he didn't know anything about sacrifice, and Jackman was like, I know all about sacrifice, not knowing whether or not I'm going to be the one in the tank or the one in the prestige. So that tells you that you don't even know which Hugh Jackman is real. Which one was the original? Was the original one when he did the first test and popped out at the other side of the machine and got shot? Was that the real one, or did the real one drown somewhere?
Do we want to know, as
know.
Kane even hints at the end?
Yeah,
And then Bale teases them because, they got to play around with it and do whatever one they wanted. And Jackman was handcuffed to this ritual of sacrificing himself for glory. So
yeah, and so you never know if it's the clone or not. And then he goes and he gets the kid, and which I guess the kid assumes is her father because the kid didn't know there were two of them. So, and then you never know which one is the father of the kid. You would assume that it was him since he's the one who loved the wife. But one of those, I said there were some things that gave it away. Like obviously, when Christian Bale, when he's Alfred and he's talking to his twin who's dressed up, and he says, "I'm sorry about Sarah. I didn't mean for this to happen," and he tells him, "You were right about Hugh Jackman." So like that hints back to Sarah, hanging herself, and then I should have left it alone. I shouldn't have went and messed with him. Da 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 da. So.
I think overall, still a solid movie. I do find it a little bit clunky in how it foreshadows. I wish it was a little more subtle in those things, but I mean, I'm sure we really appreciated that when we were younger film viewers. So I think Nolan is kind of good with training an eye for that, and then you can watch the harder stuff later. So I would definitely say Nolan is entertaining, kind of training wheels for kind of the movies that we've come along the way. But 3.5 for me. I enjoyed it.
I actually upped it to 5. I had it as a 4 off of memory, and I upped it to 5. No, this movie is still great. Even to me, even knowing the trick. But I mean, that's kind of the thing, right? If you go to a magic show, and even if you know how the trick works, it can still be impressive, or it can still surprise you. Maybe they add a twist to it. Maybe something's different. And it was one of those things where I didn't have to try to figure out what was happening. I could just watch it and enjoy it, or go,
yeah,
oh,
there's definitely
okay,
a benefit to that as well.
And like, so we watched this with our friend Brooke, and she was much like with Inception. At the end of it, was just like blown away.
Oh, cool. That's always fun.
Yeah. So it was just. I don't know. It was a fun time. Maybe if I were to watch it again in a reasonable amount of time, where I didn't, forget some stuff here and there, it would be a little bit different. But no, it was a lot of fun. And if you haven't seen it, or you haven't seen it in a while, definitely go watch it. It is worth watching, in my opinion, for sure.
All right, my movie, Planes, Trains, and Automobiles from 1987, an American road trip comedy film written, produced, and directed by John Hughes, starring Steve Martin and John Candy. Tells the story of Neil, an uptight marketing executive, and Dell, a well-meaning but annoying salesman who become travel companions, much to their chagrin. As their flight gets diverted, gets canceled, they end up on a train that's a 3-day odyssey of misadventures trying to get to Chicago in time for Thanksgiving. I grew up with this movie. I watch it every single year. It's a part of me, so I'm going to talk about it quite a bit. And let's get into it. So this was one of those. Did you ever go to your grandparents' house and they have those VHSs on the shelf, and you watch them over the years many times?
My grandparents had a couple of movies, but it wasn't like anything crazy. I think one of the ones that I watched a bunch was this like Charlton Heston's Call of the Wild. I watched that a bunch. But and then like it was like the top 10 sports moments of the 80s, and I watched like those 2 VHSs at their house. I mean, most of the time it was a lot of like Jeopardy and Wheel of Fortune and Walker Texas Ranger and Dr. Quinn Medicine Woman, that kind of shit.
Oh
So
gosh. Okay, that's taking me back. Yeah, it was strange how like this was very associated with going to see grandma. Like this was one of the movies they had on their shelf, and like every time we went to go see them, it was like 24 hours on the road in the last 12 hours going through the Midwest. So seeing those Midwestern like highways and stuff, and like actually being there and seeing this movie it all made it seem kind of gel together in my mind. Very nostalgic, as I think you had mentioned. Let's see. Let's get into the plot. So Neil gets stuck in this waste of time business meeting in New York. It appears that he works for some kind of magazine. They are picking layouts, and he's just the boss is just kind of basically just staring at it and waiting for the last seconds to tick before everyone heads out for Thanksgiving. And Neil, he has tickets for the 6 o'clock flight, I believe it is, and but his bud's like, well, you better catch the later flight. There's no way you're gonna make it. But he insists he wants to get home for Thanksgiving, so he's going to test his luck against New York cabs and traffic. Very 80s movie, huh?
definitely very 80s, especially like Kevin Bacon shows up in a small cameo role there at the beginning, and you got some 80s music going on. But yeah, very, very 80s. Very, yeah.
Are you more of a Steve Martin guy or more of a John Candy guy?
Yeah. Like,
you don't like either of them?
It's not that I don't like them. I never grew up watching a lot of their movies. I know John Candy from Uncle Buck, which I remember that I watched. I couldn't tell you a single fucking thing about it other than Uncle Buck, and then him being the dude in Home Alone. And like, I know Steve Martin. I don't know if I could tell you something that I had really seen him in. Like, obviously he's very famous and very well known, but it was just, I didn't grow up really watching either one of them. So I have no big attachment to either one of them. And if you want my opinion, if I was to base it off of this movie, I wouldn't give a fuck about either one of them. So.
See there, yeah, a little dirt in my eye. Appreciate that.
Look, it's not meant to be thrown.
Ouch.
This time it was not meant to be thrown in your eye. It's just I was not impressed with this movie, and I don't have 30 years worth of nostalgia to back it up. And it wasn't just.
I know it's just a weird dynamic to be like, oh, I love this movie, and then you're like, man, this didn't do shit for me. But no, I mean, it is what it is.
Like but it wasn't just me. Like, if you went and looked, like, again. Watched this with Brooke and Carl, but all three of us were just kind of like, eh? Like, there were some spots that...
You like Tommy Boy? It's the same movie, different actors.
I haven't seen Tommy Boy since I was young, and I really don't remember being that impressed with it when I watched it.
Do you not like road trip movies? I mean, it's like the core foundation of hilarious road trip movies. It's you don't like Steve Martin, you don't like John Candy. It's interesting stuff here.
Again, it's not that I necessarily dislike them. I don't have all of the nostalgia growing up watching them, and if I was to base it off of the most recent thing that I could really remember and sink my teeth in, this movie was just very mid. Like, I'm sorry, it was very mid. Like, and you want to talk about, like, oh, I need to go back and watch Inception, or I could poke some holes in it. It's like, bro.
And I did. Fucking Nolan is really, really sloppy at, like, distracting you with these gimmicky things while, making you drop your jaw with, like, spinning hallways, which is fucking cool. I love Inception. I'm just saying that it's not perfect because he can he likes to distract you with bullshit.
Okay, well, would you rather have that or, oh my God, this car lit on fire because of a cigarette that didn't go out the window, and then they drove the fucking burned out hole of a car down the interstate?
by the time they get to that is so ridiculous and over the top. Yes, it has built up to that, and that's a great moment. But we disagree. Let's go back to the plot and where we are in it. So Neil has a super cute family. You might recognize some of the kiddos from other shows throughout the years, or not. You don't seem to have
did
seen
look
anybody in
familiar.
this movie before.
I actually meant to go look them up and just forgot, but they did look familiar.
I always get a kick out of the guy. He's like, I don't want Indian burns. I want noogies. It's very 80s of him. Neil's wife's kind of a mess. I don't like her at all. In the longer version of this, she is like very like into the fact that he's like cheating on her. So like this movie's kind of cut up in some choppy ways, especially with her. I mean, the focus is definitely around the two guys like trying to deal with each other. I think it's hilarious that this big redheaded annoying guy is reading basically a porn novel in the airport, Canadian Mounted.
Yeah, that's true. That is a thing that happened.
It's funny. I mean, you got to think about like, have you ever started talking to a stranger and they're just talking and talking and talking, and everything that comes out of their mouth is just so like, it's effortless. But at the same time, you're like, you're talking about nothing. Shut the fuck up. Why are you talking to me? And so, yeah, he's just talking and talking. Go ahead.
I worked in retail for almost my entire life.
Oh, okay.
So yes, I have.
Oh, and
Occasion.
even more so because you've had every sister's brother who likes video games and like, ooh, I want to talk video games with you, right?
That, or you get I don't understand why these are so popular. They're just sitting around doing nothing. And back in my day, all the time. And heaven forbid you wear a video game shirt. And I still get this, like when I go out to deliveries and I wear one of my old video game shirts, I get asked about, especially if I wear like a COD shirt, I get asked about it all the time. And I'm just like, oh my God. So
do you think Neil's up his own ass, or do you think he's justified?
Steve Martin, right?
Yeah.
Justified in trying to get home?
No. Justified. Like for instance, like he boards the plane and he's like, I had this fucking first class ticket a month ago, and she's all like smiling with her friend co-pilot or whatever, and just like, sorry, sir. Back to coach. And then he's right next to Del Griffin.
I've never flown, but I think I would be fucking pissed too. Like, and I get that.
Well, I mean, that happens at every step of the way, and I think that's just what's how it hilariously mounts to such absurdness.
Well, like, and I get from like her point of view, like, well, you've been bummed. There's nothing I can do. I'm sorry. Like I get it from being, customer service, but I would be pissed. And I think a lot of my problem is that there's not a single thing ever that goes smoothly, and the literal amount of just bullshit that happens is so absurd and so ridiculous that it's just
it's definitely the building slapstick effect. So
yeah, but
as a kid, and I think that maybe I embraced that since I embraced it more as a kid. So
maybe so. I think that it was so over the top and so ridiculous that I can't. Like, I just, like...
Dogs barking tonight. That happened to be a big joke with me and my sister, and in the car as we would tease about taking our shoes off. So, lots of inside jokes. So they get to Wichita, and they end up in some, like, Elvis dudes, like, low ride, like, devil mobile, going through, like, the country roads in the middle of the night, and, they end up in like the smallest airport known to man, and Ben Stein's canceling the flight on them, and so they end up in this teeny hotel. But no problem, he'll get them a room for the night. But unfortunately, that means one room, one bed, and it's gonna get pretty nasty pretty quick.
And he gets him to pay. He gets him to pay for the room.
Yeah,
which he says later.
He's quite the con artist.
So you wouldn't feel like you weren't contributing. It's like, bro.
Details I've noticed over the years is like how like he'll be like struggling with his trunk, but then like peeking over at Neil, like, come help me, come help me. He's like totally like rope-a-doping him this whole time. All right. Oh, at the game store, did you guys ever have one of those credit card stampers?
Not by the time I got to GameStop, those were outdated. But when I started working at Subway, which was my second job. So my first job was Waffle House, and at the time they didn't take anything but cash. But my second job was Subway, and for a very short period of time, maybe a month, maybe 2 months, it was not very long, we had one of the OG credit card stampers. And then when I first started at GameStop, we did still have, we called it the dinosaur. We still had it if the credit card machine went down or something, or it wouldn't read the card, you could use it. But I think I maybe used it like once at GameStop, and then those went away forever.
I love all the comedy music is like the boop, 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 like in the bathroom whenever he's like somehow has totally run out of towels, and I think he ends up with like dirty underwear wiping his face. Is pretty putrid.
That was the next. Oh yeah. That was the socks was the next morning. Yeah, the underwear was, and he had like a bath towel to dry off with.
Yeah, oh, like a washcloth.
Yeah.
There's a vibrating bed and the beer got spilt, and he's going on about this hyperallergenic fellow. And did you happen to catch what he snorts before Neil blows up at him?
I don't recall.
He goes, dun 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 dun. If you listen close, that's what he does. So now you know. I think it's clever, but what do I know? I don't like Logan. Neil cracks and yells at Del, who, he says he's the genuine article, and that, basically Neil is on his high horse. But I don't know. These guys have been putting up with each other with quite a bit, and time for bed. The spooning scene probably was my favorite from the kid, just because me and my sister would crack up so much at it, but these two guys end up all over each other. You probably found it more off-putting than funny, I take it.
I mean, it was just
between two pillows.
You've seen it 100 times, and I know that at this point in time when it came out, you hadn't seen it 100 times, but like, also it was so obvious that that's what was going to happen. Like, it was, there's these two guys. One of them is a huge guy, but it's two guys in a bed. They're going to wake up spooning. Like, it just.
When did you have time to think about that being obvious? I mean, it's just zipping by. I'm surprised that
it wasn't that I had to think about it.
It was just obvious writing. Okay.
it was just obvious from the get. It's two guys in one bed, and it's in the 80s. They're going to be spooning. Like,
Bears got a good team this year. Going to go all the way. Not quite 85 Bears. Definitely not now. I like the Looney Tune moments. We get the part where they end up in the back of Owen's truck. Owen's got his poor wife loading up the thing, even though she's this little teeny lady, and she's like, "Don't worry, she's strong. She delivered baby sideways." And then they got the dog in the back of the truck, all frosted up, little zany Looney Tunes kind of humor there. Neil finally splits up with Del at the train, but a few moments later it's broken down, and God, that would suck to be on a train and have to be told that you have to hike a mile through some field. That'd be some bullshit right there, huh?
that is some bullshit. It's like, bro, no, I'll wait for the next fucking train to bring the engine, because that's what would happen. I was like, we'll just wait here. Fuck that. But
I find the bus scene super memorable. There's A Night to Remember, I think it's a old Clark Gable movie, where there's a similar scene where they're all singing on a bus. I love sing-alongs. I'm a big dork that way. The Pennies in a Fountain song not going so good for Neil, so Del busts out the Flintstones, and they're having a gay old time. Okay. Del shower. Oh, the shower curtain rings is easily the dumbest part of the movie, with him talking about them being like Genghis Khan and Meryl Streep nonsense. So
And then sell them as earrings and
these are replicas made very recently, but still replicas nonetheless, or something stupid.
very good replicas.
They're filled with helium, so they're very light. Oh man. Yep. Neil pumps him up just to dump him again. This is the rental car fiasco. He gets dropped off at the rental car. It is not there, so he has to hike across the lot, apparently across a runway. Seems very dangerous. Down a highway, and gets to speak his mind to a little lady who's all excited for her Thanksgiving. So we
Yeah,
get the fuck part, which I do enjoy so much.
So, the movie comes on, and we're watching it on Paramount, and it tells you it's rated R or whatever, and it's like, okay, and there's been like a little bit of cussing, but nothing crazy for it to be rated R. And then you get to that scene where even the Boondock Saints are like, damn, you guys said fuck a bunch in like 5 seconds. Like, maybe you slow your roll. Like,
I was taking notes on this film, and Christina was right there. I was like, you have to watch this scene. And she basically got put off at every single line of it. Oh, it's fun. She's listening tonight, so it's a good time.
oh, she's listening.
Yeah.
Oh, so not even asleep, huh?
No. This is the thing. She likes to fuck with me whenever she gets a chance to do so. So, love you, hon. All right. You're messing with the wrong guy. Again, some more good techno-y kind of music. Okay, now we're in well, let's see. Neil smarts off to the... Go ahead.
I say there's a podcast that I listen to, and it's the CVV show. It's a wrestling podcast. The guy's name is Chris Van Vliet. His wife's name is Rachel Van Vliet. And he does 3 episodes a week, and his episode on Fridays is an Ask CVV. Well, people started wanting to ask questions of his wife, so it became, she's RVV. So you're like, hey, honey, you want to come say hey to the show? It's like, oh, it's RVV.
All right, so yeah, Martin smarts off to the guy, I guess basically at the, where they're loading up rental cars, and ends up grabbing him by the nuts. So not a good time for Steve Martin there, as he has a little squeaky voice, but they're on the road in a car. Steve's up first to drive, I think, and Dale's like fucking with the car seat, going back and forth. I totally remember being a kid. Did any of your parents have one of those seats where it had like 14 different adjustments on the seat on the side, and you just spend all afternoon adjusting the seat?
Nope. Not that I mean, maybe someone did, but I just remember the.
I think my grandparents had an old Cadillac or something that had all those crazy little knobs on it.
Maybe my grandma's car, because they had my grandma typically, from what I remember, it didn't have bucket seats. She would have like a Buick or something that would have the whole seat all the way across. But the cars that did, it was just a handle in the bar. So it was kind of like my car now. So.
And I had the little beaver wood panel on the side, green, real classic 80s car right there. All right, before too long, let's see. Dell takes over. He's a big guy with a jacket, and Neil gets some sleep, and he's singing the Mess Around song. Pretty fun, but he gets in a little trouble when, you had mentioned already that the cigarette had gone in the back seat. He gets big guy in a car, so he gets both his arms stuck, and he's driving with his damn thighs. Pretty wild stuff. They end up getting spun around, driving the wrong direction.
Because stopping the car.
That would make too much sense.
And being like, hey, guy, help me. And then, how the fuck do you go backwards down the exit ramp?
You're going the wrong way. You're going to kill somebody.
Oh, fuck off.
We're pretty established. You don't know. How do they know where we're going? Ridiculous car fire. The radio still works. The credit cards are all burnt up. They go to the hotel. $13 and a good watch gets Neil a room. Not sure he got all those mini bottles and Doritos, but somehow they got a little bit of a alcoholic snack for to fool around. What Del shot, or I guess he burns / shocks himself when he turns the damn lamp off in the room. Good bonding moments. It does get a little bit touchy-feely a little bit too often with like, oh, poor Del. Oh, Neil's being an asshole. Neil should be good to Del. So, all right. So they get pulled over. We run into the guy from, what's his name? Paul something McKean, right?
Not sure.
He was in Coneheads. Let me look him up real quick.
Yeah, don't know. I know that Ben Stein was in the movie earlier, but and one of the kids was like Matthew Lawrence. So, he ended up, being like a teen star or whatever, and doing some movies and that kind of stuff. But yeah, whatever. I don't actually know if I've ever seen Coneheads. If I did, it was a long, long time ago. Like,
yeah, Michael McKean. Okay, it's funny. He's like has an assistant starring role, and he's only in the movie for like 2 minutes. Okay, so yeah, they end up in the back of a milk truck to make it all the way back to Chicago. End up at the subway station there, the metro, and they finally part ways. But then, man, it really dawns on old Neil there that he hasn't been home in years, and things just not adding up with him and his situation. So he goes back and finds out that he's this vagabond traveler kind of guy somehow. And so, very heartwarming walk home to Thanksgiving meal as they welcome them to eat. And they're very happy that Neil's there and not cheating. So that's Planes, Trains, and Automobiles.
And then his wife had been dead for like 8 years. And I felt that brevity, that's a really serious and like really dark thing to the rest of this movie, and felt really out of place. Like, that, and let's be real. So Christina's listening. I don't know if she can hear me or not. Probably not, because you have headphones. But how would she feel if you brought me home? Because obviously, like, she knows me. We met a long time ago, but she knows me. But if you traveled for work, got stuck, and we're supposed to be home 2 or 3 days before Thanksgiving, Christmas, what have you, and then you show up with a random dude to introduce to your children and your parents and her parents on a holiday, I don't think most people would be very happy with that. They wouldn't be all like, oh, it's so nice to meet you. They'd be like, or, they might be to him, but someone's pulling you aside and being like, Justin, what the fuck? I don't think that I'm wrong.
It's not supposed to be a realistic movie. It's a cheesy family road comedy. But, it's an interesting thing to think about. No, yeah, my wife's definitely not too into folks dropping in for a holiday. She's much more of a planner. So, anywho, yeah, it's interesting. I was thinking earlier today how I started this podcast because I wanted to share movies I enjoyed with you so you can enjoy too, and that's a seldom occurrence.
Well, we have we have an area where we overlap, and then we have areas where we don't overlap. And I think it's interesting because, like, this is a movie you grew up watching. You obviously love it. You've watched it a bunch. You're super nostalgic for it. And I feel that if I had watched this movie around that, at the same age, or had watched it a couple of times, or something like that, where it had been part of my tradition of that holiday, I would have the same kind of feeling to it. Because there are plenty of movies that are from the 80s and 90s where we've seen the same tropes done 30, 40 times since then, but I have that connection to them because I watched them growing up or whatever, or I have
Does the way I describe it at all, like, put any more life into it than kind of what you perceived?
No, I mean, I understand why you like it. Like, I understood when you said on the last episode that you grew up watching it. Like, I understood immediately. Like, it's a nostalgia thing. Like, and it's not one of those things where I think this movie is bad. Like, it's not Tetsuo or Dogville or something like that.
Hell no, it
It's
is
just
definitely not. What
it's
is
just
what would you say your all-time favorite comedy is? Like Sarah Marshall kind of thing?
I do like Sarah Marshall is great. Superbad was great. I don't know if it would still be great. I've also seen it a bunch. Um, I don't know. I'd have to think about it. It really just depends. I mean, there's something to be said for Happy Gilmore. Um, there's something to be said for Big Daddy, but that was more of like that was out in a time period where I had HBO and it just hit HBO and it was on every day of the week. So I watched it a bunch. I loved 10 Things I Hate About You. That's a
I want to
fantastic.
rewatch that. I think that's on Disney Plus.
Yeah, that's a great comedy. It just I mean, real like the first Deadpool movie is a great comedy. Like it's an action comedy, but that's
Well,
fantastic.
definitely more modern.
Yeah,
But I mean,
definitely
mhm.
not any of like Hot Fuzz and that kind of shit. That's not me. Zombieland was great. I love Zombieland. So it really just depends.
All right, let's get into my favorite part. What's coming up
Oh,
next?
what'd you rate it?
Oh, it's 5 stars.
It's not what your script says. I was very confused.
No, that
I
was
gave it. I
still
gave it.
from the Iron Man. Go ahead.
Yeah, I gave it two. I gave it 2.5 because like it's just a movie that I've seen. Like there's,
I
I
don't
would
know.
never tell. It's
I
just a
don't know.
movie that I've seen.
I don't know. That sounds like a 3 to me. You're peeing in my punch bowl, but I mean, sure, you got to relieve yourself, so you got to do it somewhere.
All right, Justin, what you got for me? You said that it would make me very happy. So I'm a little apprehensive that you are being a smartass and that I'm going to
Oh.
get something terrible, or maybe it
Mm-hmm.
will be. I'm hopeful that it'll be very good.
Okay. We're gonna watch Salmon Samurai.
That's great. That's great. Seeing as that was what I guessed the quote was.
Yeah.
um.
Yeah.
Well,
That was kind of a knock. I was like, oh, no, it's not that.
well, I didn't know that you were going to pick a movie that was 3,000 hours long. So I also
Oh,
picked a
there's always
movie.
complaints.
I
Sound like
also picked a
Christina
movie that
now.
was. I also
Oh.
picked a movie that was 3,000 years long. Um,
Oh. Do tell. What did you
oh
pick?
well,
What did you pick? Black and White Justice League.
no. I instead of picking a Christmas movie, I did pick a movie that was set in winter and there's a lot of snow
Uh-huh.
and like a lot of snow.
Oh, the Hateful Eight.
And that's the one, baby. You got it. The Hateful Eight.
Are we watching the
So,
Netflix long version?
well, I hear that
Actually, the
supposedly
episodic
makes
version
it.
it actually is paced pretty well.
I don't have Netflix, so no. I
Well,
have it on Blu-ray.
you can suck off of me, baby.
Um, I have it on Blu-ray, so I'm just
Okay.
gonna watch that.
I don't think it's going to change the experience terribly much for you. I mean, you're still
Well,
gonna
I
got the
haven't,
Lincoln letter and sucking
and I haven't. I mean,
Sam
I haven't.
Jackson's
I
dick.
saw it. Yeah, I saw it in theater, and I think I've seen it one time, like right after it came out on like Blu-ray, and I haven't seen it
Aren't you a
since.
little down on this
So,
one? Don't you think this one's boring?
I
Oh no, is it Carl that's
don't.
like down on this?
Carl really dislikes it. I don't think he's going to be super pleased, and he's probably. I don't know if he has his headphones on and can hear me or not right now, but because sometimes he can hear like half, like my half of the podcast or all of it. It just depends on if he's playing a game or talking to his buds or whatever. But I liked it a lot in theater. I liked it a little bit less when I saw it again, and he's pointed out some things, along the way where I'm like, okay, and I do want to rewatch it. I do think one of his major gripes is the thing about the 27-minute long soliloquy about Sam Jackson's Big Black Dingus. I don't remember disliking it as much as him, but I do remember thinking that it just felt really kind of out of place. But
for a QT movie, nothing feels out of place.
That's true, but with kind of the rest of the movie. But I continued along with a movie that it's been a while since I've seen, and I want to rewatch it, and I've got a couple more planned out, at least one or two more planned out to watch that I haven't watched in a long time to revisit. So, and this just happens to be the next one.
All right, man. Why do we do this show?
Because we love talking about movies and giving each other shit about movies.
Sure do.
So
you're talking to the wrong guy. You got the wrong guy.
That's like your opinion, man.
Later.
Go Tigers.
Clemson, not Missouri. Go Cox.
Go fake Tigers.